This is Alonzo Bodden. Welcome back to my podcast, Who's Paying Attention? I'm going to continue the numbering, episode 328. Now, I'm not starting over, or maybe I will, but for now, I'm going to keep going. So, where have I been? Kbla Radio, the great radio experiment, didn't quite work out. As regular listeners, and many of you listen to the radio show, and I really appreciated that. Back in June, I went to Kbla. It's Tavis Smiley's new black progressive talk radio station here in LA, AM Talk. I was doing Monday to Friday drive time radio. It was good and bad. The good part was the interviews. That had to be the best part. I did so many interviews because, let's face it, I was on the air 3 hours a day every day, and you had to listen to more than just me. So many great interviews, and I've taken those out. We've cut those to where we can include them in the podcast. Starting with this one, I'm going to include my interview with Titus, and I'm going to include a lot of interviews that I did because these people were interesting and fascinating. And just bear in mind when you listen to them, they may be a couple of months old. You may hear a topic that like, wow, that was a long time ago, because I did them all over the summer while I was working at Kbla. So that part was good. Radio is an interesting gig. I like the talk. There weren't many callers. That might have been more interesting. There were some callers, but not many. It was a grind doing it every day. I got to admit, it's not a creative outlet. Not, at least it wasn't for me. It certainly wasn't as creative as stand-up. And that's another part of why I had to leave, because I love being on stage. And as the live work increased, it became more and more difficult to be at the radio station every day. And it wasn't exactly fair to take a full-time gig and work part-time, which is what I would have been doing. There were some other things. The format, and this is why I'm back to a podcast, and I love you for listening, and I thank you, and I promise I'm going to put more work into this. Shout out to my producer, Colette Greenstein, who helped me get guests for the radio show. She's going to be helping me get guests for this podcast. And one of the great things about a podcast is when we're in a good conversation, I don't have to stop for a commercial. I don't have to stop at the top and bottom of the hour for the news. That's part of the radio format. And I joke, but it's true. The toughest moment had to be cutting off Sheila E., the brilliant musician Sheila E., because it was time for the news. I don't want to cut off Sheila E. if I'm talking to Sheila E. So here I am. I'm back to the podcast. Thank you, All Things Comedy. We're getting back to work. Things are going to be great here. There are going to be some interviews, and I did learn something. You know what I learned? I could do talk radio, and I learned I don't want to do talk radio. So that's what's up with that. But again, thanks. Many of you crossed over and listened to me while I was doing that, and hopefully some who listened to me there will cross over and listen to me here on the podcast. It was a limited amount of talking about, hey, I'm going to a podcast because of, contractual obligations. I'm leaving the radio. They didn't want me to take all my audience with me. So all of that to say, here I am. Now, here's what I wish. Wouldn't it be great if I came back here and said, I'm doing a podcast and we have all new topics because our society has moved on and we're doing so much better. But no, I'm still going to avoid Trump at all costs. I'll talk about him when I have to, but I don't want to. The recall was a nice diversion. Listen, if any state has $300 million that they want to just waste, you get some Republicans angry. You get them thinking, hey, maybe they could take over. Because as it's been said a million times, the Republicans will do anything to get into office other than win an election. So they tried to knock out Governor Gavin Newsom here in California. There was a brief period where it looked like they might have a chance. It was the National Republican Party. But then as more and more people found out about it here in California, they were like, what? No. And then the Republicans had the ultimate bad candidate, Larry Elder. Larry Elder is a black talk radio host who's, yeah, I know. That's how I said repeatedly. Hey, let me tell you how I know talk radio hosts aren't qualified to be governor. I was a talk radio host. But anyway, Larry Elder's been on there 20 years. He's in that, extreme right-wing, angry, yelling type talk radio. And he was, pro-Trump, and he was going to do away with the mask mandates, and he didn't believe in the vaccine, and blah, all that right-wing stuff. Blame the Mexicans for not having jobs, and of course he couldn't stand black people, and totally anti-black. I said, in the election I had to vote for the white guy because the black guy was just too racist. I think that helped. We also have a big problem with how our recall system is set up here in California, in that there were two votes. You vote yes or no on the recall, and then you vote on who's going to replace the governor. So had Governor Newsom been voted out, had the yeses, and again, it's written backwards. So if you vote yes on a recall, you're trying to remove him from office. So had he been removed, Larry Elder could have become the governor with less than 20% of the vote. He didn't have to have more than 50%. Oh, by the way, that little noise in the background, that is the Hulk. You guys remember the Hulk, my Great Dane puppy, who's still a puppy, 10 months old, but a bit bigger now. He's weighing in at about $135. That was another thing. I missed him going to work every day. It's kind of nice to be home and get to just chill out with my dog. So he's having a chew, which is something he does. He likes to lay around, have a nice chew. So you may hear a little clicking in the back, and that's just the Hulk. So anyway, getting back to this recall waste of money, $300 million spent, and Newsom won in a landslide, and he's up for election again next year. So there was no need for that recall election other than the National Republican Party wanting to take over California. Why? Resources. They wanted to tear this state apart, and it's almost ironic that we have an oil spill now off of Huntington Beach, which is in Orange County, a red part of the state. Anyway, this is the kind of thing they wanted to do. They wanted to eliminate any regulations and drill for oil all off the coast. And this oil spill is an example of why people don't want offshore drilling, and so it worked out. That's all I can say. Newsom is still our governor. Not perfect. Definitely better than a talk show host. We did this once before. Arnold became our governor. We know what a mess that was. Arnold actually wrote an op-ed once about how difficult it was to be governor. California is depending on where you look, 7th or 5th largest economy in the world. California is so much like the United States in the sense that if you looked at LA and San Francisco as the two coasts, being the progressive liberal parts that are densest, largest populations, etc. In between, in California, it's all farmland, and it's very red. It's very much a lot of Trumpers in that area. They're always fighting about getting water and this and that, and they play victim a lot. Everybody's out to get them, and they're funny. They're anti-immigrant, yet depend totally on migrant farm workers for labor. But which again, America. So yeah, that's what California is. The outliers. San Diego, very cool. I don't know if I think San Diego's somewhat progressive, but I don't know. It could go either way. And then the extreme north, above San Francisco, very, very conservative, very red. That's where we grow the weed. Okay, that's where that all took place, and they wanted to become their own state along with part of Oregon. And when you get into that level of crazy, yeah. They had the politicians who were bringing the guns to the fundraisers and all of that. So, people think California is this progressive paradise. No, LA and San Francisco are, but there's a lot of red within California, just fortunately not enough to tip the balance. A lot of California blue is moving to Texas. Maybe one day tip the balance there. That would be nice. So, as I said, that's one thing, but so many things you wish changed didn't change. For example, the anti-vaxxers, yeah, they're still at it. The arguments aren't as crazy. We don't hear the magnetic thing anymore. We don't hear Bill Gates is trying to track you, although people absolutely believe those things. Most recently, the anti-vaxxers I'm looking at and laughing at are NBA players. Famously, Kyrie Irving, who plays for the Brooklyn Nets and is a phenomenal basketball player, one of the best basketball players in the league. He refuses to get vaccinated. But, Kyrie Irving said the earth was flat. So we didn't expect him to be at the front of the vaccine line. Anyway, Kyrie is not getting vaccinated. Why is that an issue? Because in New York, New York is a place where vaccinations are required to go to the arena, to play in the home court. You have to be vaccinated to enter that building. So Kyrie won't be eligible to play his home games. Now, another player who was in the same situation is Andrew Wiggins. Now, Andrew Wiggins is good. He's no Kyrie Irving, but he's definitely good, and he plays for the Golden State Warriors. And he refused to get the vaccine because he didn't know what was in it and what it's going to do to his body in 10 years and blah, 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 blah. Well, the NBA said, fine, you don't have to get the vaccine, but if you're not vaccinated, you're not going to play because California, you have to be vaccinated to be in the arena. And if you don't play, you won't get paid. That would have cost Andrew Wiggins about $9 million a season. He doesn't have as much money or as many endorsements as Kyrie Irving. So Andrew Wiggins, he found Jesus. He found Jesus and wanted a religious exemption to the vaccine. And they said, no exemption and no pay. And he lost Jesus. So if they ask you how much Jesus costs, I'm gonna go with right about $9 million a season. Now, Andrew Wiggins has been bitching and whining, saying they forced me to get it. If I don't get the vaccine, I can't play in the NBA. Exactly, Andrew. See, that's how it works, okay? You can't have it both ways. You can't. If the reason there's a mandate, you don't have to get the vaccine. But if you don't get the vaccine, you're not allowed to play in the NBA. Now, you could go get another job. I don't know what other job you're qualified for, but you don't have an automatic right to play in the NBA. You're one of the rare people who is talented enough to play in this league and get paid millions of dollars. But you don't have a right to that, okay? Just like they don't get it. It's like smoking, right? Smoking. Say I used to smoke, okay? So say I wanted to smoke and it's a non-smoking building. I don't get to say, well, I'm smoking because, you can't tell me what to do. See, they can tell you what to do. They can tell you no smoking in the building. If you want to smoke, you have to leave the building. If you don't want to be vaccinated, Mr. Wiggins, you have to leave the arena, okay? And you will probably leave the league. And yeah, that is exactly how it works. Now, every now and then, karma kicks in and works in the event of Sage Steele. Sage Steele is the announcer on ESPN, black woman famously letting a white man run his fingers through her hair because he wanted to see what that feels like, because you know how much black women love that. Sage had no problem with it. She talked about she's biracial and Barack Obama's not black because he was raised by his white mother. And she's a big supporter of Candace Owen, which pretty much tells you all you need to know about Sage Steele. ESPN, Disney has a vaccine mandate. She refused to get vaccinated, and she now has COVID. Have you heard about the Herman Cain Awards? Now, this has come up, and I've talked about this, and I have no sympathy, okay? If you choose not to get vaccinated and you get sick or you die, that was your choice, and that is how you win a Herman Cain Award on Reddit. Listen, I know there's people, there's parents, and there's children, and there's sad stories. No, you made a choice. You made a choice, and now that you're sick, every one of them, as soon as they get sick, they suddenly believe in science. Suddenly, I need medicine, and I need a doctor's care, and I may need an ICU, and I may need a ventilator or whatever. Suddenly you believe in science. Screw you. I think you're in the way. Now we have stories not just of anti-vaxxers getting sick and taking up space in the ICU and hospitals. them taking up space in the ICUs in the hospitals are not allowing care for people who need to be there for other reasons. People who have injured. There was a guy, I believe in Texas, he was shot 6 times and he couldn't have surgery because the hospitals were full of the anti-vaxxers who got COVID. That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Getting shot 6 times is ridiculous, but no. I say don't let them in. I say, yeah, all we have here in this hospital is science and real doctors. So you're going to have to go over there in the corner. Maybe talk to Kyrie Irving. Maybe he'll take you to the edge of the earth and you can lean over and get some care. I don't know. So like I say, nothing new. As my friend Jack says famously, nothing changes if nothing changes. We got Mitch McConnell and the Republicans, the party of no, just not wanting to vote to increase the debt ceiling. The debt went up $7.8 trillion under Donald Trump. That's okay. The debt's at $600 billion under Biden. Suddenly the world will stop if we spend another dime. It's what they do, and they threaten. Same old. It just doesn't change. It's frustrating. It's tough, man. This is why I don't want to be. I had this question when I was doing the show, am I media? I had to ask myself, am I media now? I don't want to be media. Media is a tough job because you have to report on this stuff like it's changing, right? A Missouri police officer slamming a 14-year-old black teenage girl on the ground, twisting her arm behind her. Horrible, absolutely horrible. But let's finish that sentence with again. Because this is just one more cop beating up a 14-year-old black girl. I did a show about this, about the adultification of young black girls. And we're talking girls, okay? 10, 12, 14, you're a girl. You're not a woman. You're not a young woman. You're still a girl. I don't care how you look. Maybe your body developed more. You're still a girl. And if a grown man cannot subdue a 14-year-old girl without twisting her arm and slamming her face down in the pavement, there's no way he should be a cop. Plain and simple. He should not be a police officer anywhere. It is utterly ridiculous, and the frustration is again. So this is the hard part about doing a pod, man. I love you guys. I love doing this podcast, but this is the hard part. It doesn't change. It doesn't change. You know how hard this was to do every day? To come up with 3 hours and new ways of saying this same thing, of this stuff happening again. We spent the summer on critical race theory, okay? Teachers, principals being fired for telling the truth. Come on. Over and over. Any good news? Yeah, thank God. Thank God. And I'm going to look for this. I'm going to do my best to look for some good news, okay? Bubba Wallace, the only black driver in NASCAR, driving for a team owned by Michael Jordan. You heard of him. Used to play basketball. From what I understand, he was pretty good. They won a NASCAR race. It is the first time that a black driver has won a NASCAR race since 1963, when Wendell Scott won. Great movie about that, by the way. Richard Pryor playing Wendell Scott, NASCAR driver. But anyway, so since 1963, man, it's been a long time. So congrats to Bubba Wallace. Congrats to Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan wins again. Imagine that. And here's another piece of good news, and I'm going to call this great news. You may or may not know the story of Bruce's Beach. If you don't know the story, Bruce's Beach was a beachfront property bought by the Bruce family in, I believe it was 1912. A black family bought land on what is now Manhattan Beach here in Southern California. They opened up a cafe. A couple of other black people bought land around it. It became a beach that black people could go to. So what does that mean? White people hated it. Right? So it started with the Klan trying to run them off, and ultimately the state did it. The state took the land saying they were going to build a park. They took the land in 1921. They did not build the park until 1940 something because they never meant to build a park, but they had to do something. Well, the Bruce family, and it took the legislature, California legislature, to do this, have been given back their land. The property is valued at $75 million. That's how valuable it is. And as Anthony Bruce, one of the couple's oldest direct descendants, said to ABC News, if there's generational wealth that can be transferred or inherited, there should also be generational debts that should be incurred and taken care of. So here is a horrible wrong that will be corrected. It's been signed by the governor, but they have to go through the logistics. The Bruce family will be getting their beach back. That is good news. Tesla, a Tesla worker, Owen Diaz, wins $137 million in a racism verdict. Owen Diaz was a elevator operator. He was harassed. They put up racist images. They called him names. They dropped N-bombs on him all the time. Blah, blah, blah. The verdict included $6.9 billion in compensatory damages and $130 million in punitive. Now, it's going to be appealed, and he may not get the full $137 million, but the court said the reason they did that is because there was a culture of racism, or is a culture of racism at Tesla. They know about it, and they did nothing. There was another lawsuit that was paid, so they add these punitive damages to make the company wake up. Hopefully it does. I hope the man gets his $137 million. That'd be great. It's 2021, all right? And you have people getting in an elevator saying, push the button, nigger. That's what they were saying to him. Push the button, nigger. Floor 8, nigger. Really? In this day and age, I'd say you got to be kidding, and it's unbelievable, but it's not. So I'm glad he won. I hope he gets his money. I hope it's not drawn out by the lawyers forever. You know how they do that. They'll just keep fighting it until he's gone. Hope he gets his money. And I hope Tesla learns. And Tesla, of course, is non-union, and they're saying, maybe if you had a union, there would have been an arbitrator involved and you wouldn't have got hit for $137 million. Might be a little lesson in that. I don't know. So that's it, people. I'm back. This weekend, I'm going to be at a place called Vitello's Friday night in Studio City and California. And Saturday, I'm going to be at the Cola Lounge just outside of Detroit. I so love being on stage. I love doing this, man. I love being back. I love talking to you guys. Give me a minute to get back into my podcast groove. I may be going a little too fast, not going over enough topics. I just mainly wanted to say that I'm back. And of course, as I say, nothing changes if nothing changes. The Republicans, the GOP, they've owned it now. The party of stupid. They own their stupidity. The false equivalency between parties, between politicians, between news outlets, etc., has annoyed me from the start. Okay, MSNBC and Fox News are not the same. MSNBC is 30% to the left, and I'm being high, I think, at 30%. Fox News is 90% to the right. Okay, Marjorie Taylor Greene and AOC are not the same. Marjorie Taylor Greene there's no facts behind it. It's just a lot of rhetoric and anger. AOC is actually trying to make changes, big changes that she can't make because she hasn't been in Congress long enough, and it doesn't work that way, but she's trying. Okay, the Green New Deal is not the same as don't take a vaccine, don't let your kid wear a mask, and carry your gun to the grocery store. It's not the same. It's not the same. The Republican Party is a sham and a shame. And, speaking of interviews, and I'm going to play this interview, definitely, Michael Steele. I have become, I guess, fan, friend, or whatever. I've been on Michael Steele's podcast a couple of times. He came on the radio show, and he will be on the podcast. I'll play the interview. He is what I call a reasonable Republican. Michael Steele, if you don't remember, is a black man. He was a lieutenant governor in Maryland. He ran the Republican Party for years. He was head of the Republican Party during the Obama era, and he has a great sense of humor. he has some common sense, and he is what's called a reasonable Republican, and those are becoming harder and harder to find. So, looking at the pride in the stupidity of the Republican Party, that's what this editorial in the Washington Post, which is left, okay, but that's what it's talking about. Lauren Boebert, she is the congresswoman from Colorado who brought her gun to Congress the first day and said, I'm going to use it for protection. And of course, when the insurrection came, her and her gun were nowhere to be found. She says that President Biden should be removed from office for colluding with the Taliban. Now, this is in regards to the horrible pullout at Afghanistan, which every expert, everyone who knows, and people on the ground, and military people on the ground said, no matter who was president, this was going to happen because the Taliban's just been waiting, and you can't conquer Afghanistan. The Russians tried it. It's been tried. You cannot do it. So anyway, she says that now one thing I love when they talk about Biden should be kicked out of the job. Do they understand that if Biden leaves, Kamala Harris becomes president? No, they don't understand that because they're too dumb. So anyway, she put the logo impeach Biden. She forgot the P in impeach. They go on and on. Nancy Pelosi responding to Kevin McCarthy, Republican from California minority leader, criticizing the mask mandate in Congress. She just said, he's a moron. Okay. Elise Stefanik, Republican from New York, praises Medicare and Medicaid for protecting the health care of millions of families and then warns, quote, to safeguard our future, we must reject socialist health care schemes. Yeah, Medicare and Medicaid would be a couple of those socialist schemes you're trying to protect from. She's a Harvard graduate, which means either Harvard was really easy, she got in, got over somehow, or more likely, she's pretending to be dumb. This is what they do. They actually pretend to be dumb in a way of appealing to their base. Trump was the biggest one. He's genuinely dumb, though. He genuinely didn't know. He was not pretending. Senator John Neely Kennedy, a Republican from Louisiana, graduate of Vanderbilt University, Oxford University, and the University of Virginia Law School, pretends he's from the country, pretends to be, listen, and I'm not saying people from the country are dumb, but I'm saying he's trying to fit into that good old boy, I don't know, stereotype, and he's talking about blah, blah, blah. This guy is smarter, damn sure smarter than me, maybe smarter than you, certainly well educated. Come on, Oxford, and just pretends to be dumb because it works for his party. It's amazing. You know, it's one thing with Marjorie Taylor Greene, right, who is nonsense, but this guy, you went to Oxford, acting dumb. Okay, and here's one. Now, this one, he's not acting. Louis Gohmert, Republican from Texas, says the Green New Deal is ushering in an avian apocalypse. Birds that aren't killed by windmills are spontaneously combusting while flying over solar panels. And he calls them flamers. That's right. Birds flying over solar panels, catch them. And you wonder why they believe the vaccine makes you magnetic. Come on. So this is who they choose to be. This is what the Republican Party has chosen to become. And the supporters are so in. And it's a cult. It's a cult. Why is it a cult? Because they'll die for their leaders. That's why. They will die for their leaders. And that is cult behavior. And by the way, their leaders, all vaccinated. Who's paying attention? I am back. Thank you guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the support. I really appreciate it. Coming up is an interview I did with my friend, brilliant comic, a guy you got to follow on Twitter, Chris Titus. We're going to play the interview from when I did it on Kbla Talk. Titus is just a great guy. Harsh. And speaking of harsh, Chappelle has a new comedy special on Netflix. It's called The Closer. I'm not going to get into what the critics and the analysts and the pundits and all that are saying about it. You know why? Because it's Dave Chappelle, because he's a comic. And we comics, we still get to say what we want to say. And Dave, and I said it and I will stand by it, the greatest social commentator we have right now. They're analyzing it. They're getting big on the LGBTQ community and jokes he does about it, and him saying he's not going to joke about it, and is he anti-gay and anti-trans and blah, 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 blah. Watch it for yourself. Make your own decision. Don't let a pundit tell you what to think. And please don't let a Republican pundit tell you what to think, because whether they're smart or dumb, they're going to play dumb. How long do you play dumb before you actually become dumb? I don't know. Let's ask Andrew Wiggins. It's Alonzo Bodden. Who's paying attention? You are. Coming up, me talking to Chris Titus. And thank you. I'm going to do this intro really quick because, ladies and gentlemen, I told you, one of the great things about being a comic is that I know some of the funniest people in the world, and he is one of them. But he's so much more than a great comedian. We got to talk about Twitter because he's killing it on Twitter. So we have here a stand-up comedian who had his own brilliant sitcom, self-titled sitcom, has written one of the funniest, craziest, and most politically incorrect movies that you will ever think of. He made that. He's killing it on Twitter. He's touring all the time, and I think Donald Trump might be mad at him personally. I'm really not sure. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend Christopher Titus.
Oh, man, it's good to be here. Thank you. Can I say about the drive over here? So we were talking about your second day. You said, Titus, would you come? I said, of course, man. Anything for you, eh? And then you said, I said, so what do you got? You got 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5? He goes, yeah, 3 to 4, 4 to 5. And I was like, oh, I'll come out at 3. And it'll be easier traffic. You go, no, man. It'll be better if you come out at 6. Well, to get here at 6, I got to drive across the lane at 5 o'clock. So you know what it was? It was that Alonzo voice. You were like,
yeah, Titus, it's gonna be all right, man. Come on, man. Yeah, just come on over. It'll be all right.
I got lulled into it.
I sound like I know what I'm talking about. That has gotten me over for so long, so many times. You know, you came in at a perfect time. I don't know if you were listening, but this is the topic I was talking about, and who better than you to ask this question? The topic I had brought up to my people is, why would anyone be a Republican now?
Yeah, why? There's nothing going on in the Republican Party. They want to take your vote. They want to take your vote. They, especially if you're a person of color. They want to, and being a white guy, it's weird for me, but, I could just be like, because someone actually got on me, you hate yourself. I was talking about critical race theory. Someone said, you just hate your whiteness. I go, no, I hit the lotto. I just want I'm a white male in America. Are you kidding me? All my numbers dropped. I hit the bonus. What are you talking about? I just think everybody else should have that shot. So you got the people that want to take your vote away. That's number one. They don't want to pay you a living wage. They're like, nope, let's kill that too. They want to take your health care away, and down the list. And I just keep asking myself, why would you want someone in charge that just wants to take everything from you? And so when someone says liberal means that you care for other people. You want everyone else to have a fair shot. You want everybody to be able to vote. That's just conscious. That's not liberal. Liberal is now centrist, like liberal
right.
Used to. Yeah, right.
We've gone so far, and I was talking about the extreme right wing. One of my favorite things is these insurrectionists whose lawyers are saying, well, they were watching Fox News all the time. Of course they attacked the Capitol. Like that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the actual justification for attacking democracy. They were watching Fox News. I mean, what would you expect?
Some guys called it Foxitis.
That's what they call it.
It's stupidity is exactly. It just says, how do you define it? Stupidity. You paid attention to all you have to do. Like when the internet got invented, I remember thinking, they were saying it was going to be the most amazing thing because we were all going to be educated. And it's true if you look for what you want to be educated about. If you just believe Tucker or Hannity, you're just a moron. You end up in jail wondering why you can't have organic food in your cell.
Yeah, that's
white privilege. By the way, that dude, the shaman, that's white privilege. Hey, whoa, I need to be released. Why? Because I can't get organic meals in cell block D.
Yeah, well, when you're wearing a furry hat with horns on it, And then, but I eat organically. It's like, yeah, of course you do.
Right.
That makes perfect sense.
I thought about that. He's wearing horns from a dead animal somebody killed and fur. Yeah, but I got to eat organically. I care about the planet. So anyway, man, Twitter. When you say I'm killing on Twitter, I think I'm just getting death threats on Twitter as much as killing it on Twitter.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. I mean, for one thing, do you ever get tired? Because you go at them nonstop. They come at you, but you go right back at them. And I don't mean the basic little Twitter feuds and spats. I mean their political issues, their news issues, and you point out the stupidity. And you call stupid people stupid, which I don't even know if we're allowed to do anymore.
And I give them an article. Here's the article where you're wrong. Here's the problem with Twitter. Everybody on Twitter, once you sign up for Twitter, a lot of people think that once you hit that user agreement, you now have a doctorate in everything. That you now know everything, and you get. And that's the other thing is everybody's opinion has become fact now in the world. Like if someone has an opinion, I feel like the election was stolen. Do you feel like the election was stolen? Because we've counted the votes 14 times at this point, and it wasn't stolen. Yeah, I know, but I feel like it was. So everybody's feelings now are becoming facts. And so what I do on Twitter is there was a lady today. She actually was telling parents, she had 14,000 followers, which is a lot of people. And she was saying, parents, let your kids get COVID because that means you love them. And I'm like, the Delta variant is going after kids. Like there was a school in Israel Israel's the most vaccinated country on the planet,
yes.
And they had 49 kids come down with it. The Delta variant. Now the Delta variant is more dangerous, it's more transmissible. I'm like, how dumb are you? And they kept asking me for facts, so I was like, because I know how to use the internet.
Right, and what you said is true. The internet is the best and the worst of us. We have to take a little break, but we're going to come back, and we're going to find a way to love children without letting them get a deadly virus.
There you go. Yeah, easy.
I mean, you have kids. There's got to be some way to do it.
And I didn't give them polio because I loved them. Here's some smallpox, kids.
Kbla Talk 1580, unapologetically progressive, 800-920-1580. Call me and Titus. We're going to help you raise your kids without a major disease. Hi, it's Alonzo Bodden. The show is called Who's Paying Attention? The station, KBLA 1580 AM. We are unapologetically progressive. The number 800-920-1580. I'm here with my friend, the brilliant comedian, Christopher Titus. And Titus, you brought up a great question regarding our saying we're unapologetically progressive. And you said, how progressive are you?
Yeah. I mean, what are your pronouns, bro?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Like, how far are we going to go with this?
I'm still he and him. I'm still with he and him for what that's worth. But you brought it up to the larger point because the right has shifted so far into crazy. And I was talking about it last hour where you have these right-wing extremists that now they're complaining because they go out and they videotape themselves. Look how old I am. They go out and they shoot video of themselves attacking the Capitol or hassling a reporter or beating somebody up. And then they're like, what do you mean I lost my job? Why am I fired? And they're literally crying after the insurrection. The funniest thing to me were the ones at the airport crying when they weren't allowed on an airplane. It's like, well, see, when you attack the Capitol, you go on the no-fly list. That's
so here's the thing. When you fly the Confederate flag in the Capitol, where it's never been flown, even during the Civil War, maybe we're going to have some questions. We're going to want to sit you down. There's cops that are hurt. What bothers me the most about it is that there should be a mechanism that when you commit treason against America, they should be able to arrest you. You shouldn't go back to work. Like you and I couldn't go back to work. We're going to vote. Let's vote on we're going to name post office now. No. You were tweeting people during the insurrection. You don't get to sit at the table anymore. How come we don't have that? And what's his face? And just by the way, let me call liberals out on this too. Merrick Garland is not sedition is not a word they're using on charging these guys, and it flat out was. You guys tried to overthrow the government. Period.
The charges, and you talked, and we'll talk about it more. You talked about white privilege, and when you talk about attempting to overthrow the government and being charged with a misdemeanor, that kind of, I didn't know it worked like that.
Yeah, you get to go home and then go on take vacation to Mexico. You got a pass to go to Mexico.
And Mexico. And of all places, Mexico, we don't want any Mexicans here where you going on vacation. Well, I'm going to Mexico.
Yeah, of course I am. Can you get over the wall? You going to fly? Because that's how it works both ways, by the way.
So when we talk about being progressive, the right has gone so far right. It's like you were saying, what you consider normal views.
I just want you're liberal
are
now.
Considered some kind of liberal progressive. Like you're insane.
I just want what's in the Constitution. That's it. And not me. Oh, you psycho lefty. Yeah, equal rights. You're not going to vote. Oh my God, this guy's out of control.
It's been said when you demonize healthcare, okay, when you look at the guns, and again, I'm not anti-gun. I've said it before, I'm pro-common sense, and you probably don't need an assault weapon with a 50-round clip and armor-piercing bullets to hunt a deer. If you see a deer wearing a bulletproof vest, leave that one alone. Let that one go.
Exactly.
That's all I'm saying.
Here's the thing. This all is based in white supremacy. And by the way, how come all these dudes that claim white supremacy show absolutely no evidence of it? If there was a case, to prove white supremacy, these guys would actually be witnesses for the prosecution. So my problem with white supremacy is that if you need a gun to carry a gun all the time, open carry a semi-automatic weapon into an Applebee's, you're not supreme. Actually, someone who is supreme, who is a master race, would not be afraid of their chili fries getting attacked, is all I'm saying. You're not. By the way, if white supremacy makes me laugh, if you were supreme, if you were the master race, you could handle the sun. The thing that powers everything on the planet. You would be able to deal with that. We had to invent a lotion to go outside. The people that are denying global warming can't go outside in it. We're just going to be angry bacon on the beach till the water rises above us. I don't understand.
Well, you hit on one of the key words. You said fear. And that's what it is. So many of them, what are they afraid of? Now, we've been friends for, I don't know how long. I think we met.
25 years?
Yeah.
Way before the show.
I want to say 97 in Montreal at Just for Laughs is when we met. And you were great to me, by the way. I was one of the hot kids at that show. That's how long ago it was.
You got a crowd around you, Alonzo.
You came over to me and you said, hey, this is what happens next, and this is what they'll say to you, and this is what to believe, and all of that. And I'll always appreciate that. But the point being, we've been friends a long time. Yep. We've laughed a long time, and I don't think you've ever been afraid of me.
No, I don't have a lot of fear of you. Again, the voice soothes me. Even if you were beating me up, you'd be, it's all right, Titus. It's okay. I'd be like, hey, thank you. That's the whole thing is that, if you have to carry an automatic weapon or any weapon, these guys that want, Texas just made a law that anybody can carry. They're going to pass this law that anybody can carry without any training. By the way, how frightened are you? What kind of a coward are you to walk the earth? You're so scared of everybody and everything that you need to have a weapon on your hip? I don't want to live like that. I really don't.
I don't want to live with a bunch of people carrying a weapon on their hip who are in no way trained to carry a weapon on their hip. And then you combine it with that law that you're allowed to shoot somebody because you perceived a threat.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we're supposed to be moving forward, and this just sounds like the Old West where people are going to be walking around. And you can be sure of this, and I talked about this, you be sure of this. When they're asking who's carrying that weapon, I'm going to go with, they're going to be asking black and brown people about carrying that weapon, and a white guy carrying a weapon, it's going to be like, well, you're a good American.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed. I've noticed with these guys getting arrested, too. I've noticed these guys getting arrested for the insurrection. It seems like they seem to be getting released quite easily, even home release and stuff. It seems a bit different. Critical race theory, all of this stuff has a thing. As I've gotten older, I wasn't the smartest kid growing up. As I've gotten older and done a lot of research, read about the past, really, really got into it, you start to really see that there is a difference. You and I going into the same place, I may, depending on where it is, may be treated differently than you.
It could happen.
Every comic I toured with for years, and every time someone would go, there's no racism, I'd stop and I go, no. Every black comic I toured with, every single one has a story about getting pulled over, taken out of the car, and bounced off the hood. And no white comics, like Birbiglia doesn't have that story.
It's called Driving While Black,
Yes.
and I have been found guilty of it. We have a caller right now, Clint in Phoenix. What's going on, Clint? Are you there, Clint?
Clint.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh,
Yeah,
we got you now.
We got you now, man.
Yeah. Oh, first off, just want to say big fan of both of you guys. I remember the show on Fox, but just want to talk about what it's like being a liberal in Phoenix. It's really hard. And yeah, I'm also I'm actually pro Second Amendment though too. So you know, I kind of have a different view on some of these gun laws here, but you know, it's the thing is you know, a lot of my philosophy I think has been built by listening to comedians like you guys. I grew up on George Carlin, Chris Rock, so you know, I try to keep that you know, center left philosophy on a lot of things. But just I'll hang up and shut up and listen.
Well, no, Clint, before you hang up, I want to ask you a question because you brought up the Second Amendment, and there's a lot of debate about what the Second Amendment means. But I want to ask you, do you think people should walk around? Because I think you can open carry in Arizona, maybe not in Phoenix, but in parts of Arizona. Do you think we should be walking around with guns on our hip?
No, I sent you a thing on Instagram there about how I think that's a stupid idea. But, we're constitutional carry, but we also can get a permit. And I actually went above and beyond, got my permit because it's valid in 37 states. But you know, I wish again people would get that minimum amount of it.
Well,
going to be carrying something like that.
But what people are analyzing is why you walk in with a gun on your hip. People want this for one reason. Fear. I've been on this planet a long time now, decades, and guess what's never happened? No one's ever, you know, I travel all the time. I've never had an incident where I thought, man, I wish I had a loaded weapon on my hip right now. Not once. And there's all these guys that they walk around like, I'm ready. Except good guy with a gun works less than 1% of the time. Less than 1%. Like, it doesn't work. It's never worked. And so I just don't quite understand. The Second Amendment has been interpreted so many different ways. Well-regulated militia. Well, the well-regulated does not seem to fit into our current situation.
That seems to be the problem. That word they don't like, regulated. Yeah. That was the part that they were like, well, no, that means
there, Christopher.
So
is you know, that whole well-regulated. That's what I believe in. Is that if we're going to interpret it, we need to at least have that side of it as well.
Yeah, don't just pick the sexy parts. Let's do the whole rule. Let's keep the whole thing together. I'll tell you this. I figure here's what we do with the guns. Here's the gun thing. I can fix it. What we need to do if this is going to be like this, because there was 600 million plus guns in America right now. Even if tomorrow they said, all right, you got to turn your guns and whatever, it ain't going to happen. But if we had like a gun DMV. That's what I'm saying. First of all, I don't want people standing in lines with guns, though. That's not a good idea. Maybe a gun but we make it quick because everybody. I think those employees at the gun DMV would work a little faster because everybody had a gun.
Or nobody would have a gun because they'd work at DMV speed, and you would just you're not getting a gun today. I don't care what you thought you were getting today. But you're not getting a gun.
You put a range. You have to go over. You have to register your gun because they always go cars too. Cars kill people too. Okay, I always say, all right, then let's regulate guns the way we regulate cars. You know, insurance, registration every year. You got to renew it. You got to retest. You know, you have to get a new license, and you have a range at the DMV. You go in, you shoot. Yeah, there's 3 different levels. You got bronze, gold, and platinum. And then what happens is being a marksman would become a thing. And if you're on your license, it would have a thing, and you would say like, "Well, I'm a gold level person." And any domestic violence, you wouldn't have to. If we had some regulation, it could actually be a thing where we would be maybe the best armed country, but also the best trained country. I have no problem with that. I have Navy SEALs in my family. They should have a gun.
Yes.
You know, I'm fine. They have been trained. They've been smacked in the back of the head. They've been dealt with in the military, and they know how dangerous they are. Then there's these other people that just, I got one. And you got a military uniform on, but you never served in the military, and the vest doesn't cover the bottom 4 inches of your bubble gut, bro. So,
Clint, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for the call. And Titus, I've been saying the same thing. They don't have a problem. These people who talk about my freedom and this and that, it's like you register your car. the government, not only does the government know when you bought the car, they know who you sold it to.
Yep.
When you sold it, who you sold it to, then that person has to go tell the government, I have the car now, right? And each time you got to wait in line at the DMV.
Right.
You know, but for a gun, for some reason, it's like, oh, no, I can't let anybody know I have one, and I need the biggest one, and this and that. And the clips, the 30 and 50 round clips. It's like, who are you defending yourself against? How many people don't like you?
Listen, Rambo, you going into Vietnam? Are you going upriver? What's going on exactly? Who are you? How many people are attacking you? And by the way, what have you done in your life that you need a 50 round?
Exactly.
What's coming down around you, John Wick? What's happening?
You got to choose your enemies, and just I want to avoid enemies that cause me to need a 50 round clip. We've got another call from Cutie in L.A. Did I get that right, Corn? Cutie in L.A.
Hi, Alonzo.
How are you?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I am doing great. I'm here with my friend Christopher Titus, one of the funniest guys I know.
He is. Hi, Christopher.
How you doing, kid? How's life?
I'm good. I'm good. I don't have a comment. I just want to make a statement.
Okay.
And my statement is that I am loving Kbla.
Oh.
I've got 2 days in, and I just want to say that I'm listening. I'm learning about my people. I'm learning about, what our issues are and how we can help and, other people's opinion. I'm loving this. I really am. And all the DJs that are on and everybody is different. And I love it because I'm getting something from everybody. So I thank Travis for doing this. I think you guys are great. You guys got a fan for life. You guys are locked in, and you're not going anywhere with me, so thank you.
All right.
Cutie, I want to say thank you. Thank you for the call. Thank you for all the love. And the only thing I'm going to ask you to do is tell your friends about us. Let's build this. Let's grow this. So thank you so much, and tell them to tune in, KBLA Talk 1580, the number 800-920-1580. Call us anytime, and we'll talk to you. So I'm sitting here reading his tweets. That's why I'm laughing.
I'm not.
And trust me, it's not. See, this is the beautiful thing. It's not just politics because, on one tweet, he goes in on Senator Josh Hawley, which Josh Hawley said he's worried about President Biden nominating for federal office individuals who believe this is a country founded in racism.
He said it out loud. He said that out loud.
To which Titus replied, what tipped that? 400 years of slavery?
Yeah, exactly. What made you think that possibly this country was based in racism?
It's unbelievable. But Titus can shift gears, and he's a huge car guy. He's a huge car guy. He had a show called Titus, and he had the backdrop on the show was some of the coolest hot rods ever. But Titus, what do you think of those Fast and Furious movies?
Oh, man. As I said, if you're a car guy, the Fast and Furious movies, to real car guys, Fast and Furious movies are basically what Greg Gutfeld is to comedy. It's just, there's nothing. I've never been in a car. You and I, we like both fast cars, fast motorcycles. Never jumped one building to building in Dubai. Never hooked one to a cable off a C-130 and then landed on the road with a parachute.
What I really love right now are there are listeners saying, what does Greg Gutfeld have to do with comedy? And you're right. This is KBLA Talk 1580, the number 800-920-1580. Titus is staying with me for the hour. Give us a call. Let's talk. This is Alonzo Bodden. Who's paying attention? You are. So, Titus, I want to talk to you about the cancel culture.
Right.
Okay, because we as comedians, they've been hitting us with this. Now, I'll tell you, I myself have been saying I wish I could get canceled because it really is good for publicity. There's nothing like getting canceled to get them to start talking about you. Your act, you talk about politics, social issues, race, and then personal things, the divorce in your life.
Oh, I did on Whitey, and I apologize. I did Arm the Children. There's bit after bit after bit. But here's the thing. Comedians should never apologize, period. It's a hard, fast rule. Do not apologize. I had a problem a couple years ago. I said something about Sarah Palin. I was on Adam Carolla's podcast. She had said what she had said about I'll just give you my experience with cancel culture and how I dealt with it. Because if you apologize, what happens is you create this tsunami of everybody jumps on.
Right,
So
and they look for everything you ever said.
Yeah, here's how I did it. So I went on to Adam Carolla's show, and I said, they had interviewed Sarah Palin. She was going through the Paul Revere Museum, and they said, what'd you think about Paul Revere? And he goes, well, he was shooting the guns and ringing the bells. That was it, man. That was her quote. That was her quote. So I'm at the club. I'm at one of the improvs during Adam's show live. There's an audience of 300 people, and I say, I have to be honest with you, man. If she's like the president, I'm reserving a spot on the grassy knoll. I'm just going to wait, locked and loaded. Audience laughs. They clap. Move on. So 2 days later, my phone starts blowing up, and I realize that Bill O'Reilly has gone on Fox News, because this has hit and said Christopher Titus has threatened to kill Sarah Palin, and he calls me a pinhead on television, and then he said,
"You made it."
Yeah, I know. If Titus wants to come on the show, we'd love to have him on, talk about what he said. And I was kind of didn't want to go on the show with Bill O'Reilly because I didn't want to get sexually assaulted. So, so what I did was I called my publicist, called him. Bill O'Reilly said, "No, it's okay. He did what he wanted to do. He didn't want to see me." So then my phone 2 days later starts blowing up. People like, this is my Twitter. "Hey man, you can't threaten to kill somebody, and we're going to kill you." Which is like, thanks for defining irony in 2 sentences. So my agents are calling. They're flipping out. TJ's going, people are calling the agents. Call the agents. You gotta tell the people. You gotta apologize. So here's what I said. If you're gonna apologize like this. I said to the Palin family, if you guys thought at any time I was gonna harm one of you, and I don't know why I would tell 300 people, but okay, I get how you'd be mad. But let me tell you why this joke worked and why the audience laughed. Because we as Americans realize that we have set the bar so low on a possible presidential nominee that we would even consider Sarah Palin. You don't give the stupid cheerleader the Uzi. Sincerely, Christopher Titus. So that's how I apologized. And because I did that, it just the next day it stopped. It just stopped. It was like I held my ground as a comic. Here's the thing, guys. If you paid money to walk into a building with the word comedy on that building, shut up and laugh. That's it. You actually have now stepped into our realm where you paid to hear what we have to say. If you don't like it, you can pay your tab and go. But up until that point, you don't get every comic that's apologized. All of a sudden, what happens is they lose all credibility now.
Well, I've said this over and over, and exactly what you're saying. When you come to a comedy club, anything that's said, listen, we take a chance. It may not work.
Right, there you go.
But we're saying it in a comedy club on a comedy stage. That's not the same as saying it, at a CVS drugstore or at Target in the middle of the day. And we're comedians. We are not politicians. We don't make policy. We're not the CEO who hires and fires people. So what we say doesn't have the same weight and same danger. Now, this is my second day on the show. So my hope is somebody's going through my tweets and I said something. You know what I mean? Just a little TMZ.
I'll do some work.
Could you find something that I've said that's been horrible in the past? No, I fully agree with you. And it's funny you bring up Sarah Palin because remember when Sarah Palin was the standard for crazy? We've gone so far beyond Sarah Palin that now we're like, man, remember the good old days when we only had Sarah Palin?
She seemed like a smart dental assistant, didn't she? She seemed okay. I mean, remember we would rip on W so bad, and now I yearn for W.
Yeah,
at least deep down, he was
tried.
A decent human,
he
man.
Tried. The bar has moved so far. But yeah, this cancel culture thing, and again, some people canceled, they were gone. Then others have come back huge, and some never. Did Kathy Griffin even notice? Did she not sell out anywhere while she was canceled?
She did that world tour, and she actually sold out
everywhere.
And that's the thing is that she was on the right side of the issue. The problem with cancel culture is that if you're on the wrong side of the issue, there are some people that are on the wrong side of the issue. If you're pro Bill Cosby right now, you're on the wrong side of the issue.
Yeah, I hate to say it. I hate to say it.
Yeah, exactly. And he's in prison, so I'm not actually crossing the line on that.
Right.
So I'm just saying you have to be on the right. So I did a movie called Special Unit, where basically the premise is due to the Fairness and Disabilities Act, the LAPD has to hire 4 handicapped undercover detectives.
I'm only going to stop you right now because we have a break coming up, and I just want to tell everyone, you have to see this movie Special Unit. And I remember back when you were writing it and you told me the premise of it, and it was so wrong. The beauty of being comics is you can say anything to us. So when he described this movie to me, I was like, this is horrible and it's going to be brilliant because it is just such a terrible thing to do and the people. But it worked. Why? This is why it worked. Because you're a comedian. Because comedians get it. And I'm going to tell you something that a comic said to me last summer during the height of the Black Lives Matter protests. A white comic. We've been friends for years. And he said, man, wouldn't it be great if the world was like a green room?
Yeah, wow.
Right? Where comics, we say anything, anything goes because it's nothing but love. It's nothing but love behind it.
And we talk so much crap about each other and laugh about it. You're right. If we could just say anything, wow, if the world was a comedian's green room, it'd be a lot better.
It would be.
A lot more rehab, but yeah.
Well, they need. Listen, they need work too. We gotta keep the rehabs, the hospitals going, things like that. But like I say, we're gonna take a break, but we're gonna talk about Special Unit and people listening right now. You have no idea what this movie's about, nor how good it is, but it was fantastic. And let me just say,
scared everybody
that Titus gave everyone a shot. Is it safe? Is it safe to say that the man's given everyone a job? This is KBLA 1580. The show is called Who's Paying Attention? The phone number, 800-920-1580. We are unapologetically, and I'm really going to stick with that unapologetically part, progressive. And when we come back, more with Christopher Titus. This is Alonzo Bodden. The show is called Who's Paying Attention? The station, KBLA 1580 AM. I'm sitting here with Chris Titus, and he is about to tell us about, and I absolutely love this movie. So talk to us about Special Unit and the idea and the film and how great it is.
So I have some buddies that were disabled, hardcore disabled, and they never, whenever they would get their actors, and whenever they got parts, it was always the wizened guy in a wheelchair, or they were, the guy that needed to be protected, but they never got to be the heroes. And but my buddy Michael Arona, he's like one of the most. He's kind of a sarcastic a-hole, like worse than anybody I know, to the point where like he's annoying. Like he's to the point where, like in a restaurant one time, he actually did a thing where the waitress came over and we were going to eat. We'd done the show the night before, and he goes, and the waitress looks at me, asks me what I want. My assistant Tommy asks what he wants, ask his buddy Kenny what he wants, and looks at Mike, and then she looks at me and go, Mike's got cerebral palsy. He's knurled up. I think have you met Mike before?
Yes, I have.
So Mike's knurled up, and she looks back at me and goes, "What will he have?" And I'm like, and I know Mike, and I know things are about to get really ugly. Mm-hmm. So Mike cranks the level of disability up like 300%. He starts going, "I would like boobies." He just starts going off on this. And for the next hour and a half, Alonzo, this man, he destroyed this waitress. He must have dropped 30 forks on the floor. He spilled water. He did everything that she thought he was supposed to do. And at the end, he walks up to her. I pay the check, and I'm trying not to laugh. I'm really trying not to laugh. Because Michael, he works for the government. He's got 3 different jobs. He's a public speaker, and he's a comedian. So as we're leaving, I pay the check, and he walks up to the waitress, and he goes, "I just want you to know you're my favorite waitress. I will be back tomorrow." And this waitress looked like she quit her job. I'm sure she quit. So I had this idea for this movie where basically, due to the fairness, because sometimes progressive goes too far, due to the Fairness and Disabilities Act, the LAPD has to hire 4 handicapped undercover detectives. And I had Deborah Carrington, who's a little person, Mike. We had a guy that played autistic, the only actor who wasn't, because we auditioned everybody. And we put 16 other actors in with real disabilities because they don't get a shot. If they do get a shot, they're a 3rd, 4th character. And we made them cops. And man, if you guys go to, it's on Amazon Prime right now, go Special Unit, and people are just like, I can't believe this. And I've had parents with kids who are autistic or had disabilities write me and just go, "Thank you for this movie. My son, who's in a wheelchair, he's got something now where he's the hero." And I play the worst a-hole. I play the worst human being you've ever seen.
So you play yourself.
I play me, except louder. Yes, me a little bit louder. Yes, but go to Amazon Prime, guys. It's a really good movie, and it's we did it. I raised the money because when you go to a studio and go, "Hey, by the way, we're gonna do this for all these disabled people," and they go, "Yeah, okay, no,
right."
But it's
we're
really
gonna
fun.
take a break, but I do want to talk about about it because this is not the way it was described to me, people, when he first came up with the idea for the movie.
How did I?
This is KBLA Talk 1580, 800-920-1580. We are unapologetically progressive.
Handicapped police officers. Come on!
This is Alonzo Bodden. The show is called Who's Paying Attention? The station, KBLA Talk 1580, the number 800-920-1580. You just heard a clip from my friend Christopher Titus's movie Special Unit. You can get it on Amazon. It's great. And we were joking about the initial pitch. I will just tell you that when he first told me about the movie...
Okay. All right.
You going to say it or am I going to say it?
I'll own it. Because when you pitch something, and by the way, we did a pilot for Comedy Central in like 2003, 2004.
Yeah.
And the pilot was good, directed by Bryan Cranston. And the pitch was you go into a pitch room and you come up with one sentence to get them to go, ah. And I said, it's the shield with retarded people. Now, that's not cool.
Not cool at all. Not cool. I don't even know if you could say that today.
No, but here's the thing. So this is what bothers me about when people start talking about woke. The opposite of woke is asleep. Okay? So let's say at that time I was asleep. If I'm woke now, that means I'm aware that maybe that offended someone else. I don't understand why we can't continue to evolve as human beings. Oh, guess what? I shouldn't use that word anymore. Okay, well, that would upset you, with you gay or whatever. And I think so. I would never use that word now.
No, and disabled. And we joke about it, and we don't joke about it to offend anybody. We joke about it because we have progressed, we have evolved. I've done shows where the great question was...
I sat in the audiences and watched some of the stuff you said.
But the question is, like, what joke did you do 20 years ago that you can't do today? We evolve, humor evolves, and things change. Chris, thank you so much, man, for dealing with traffic, for coming down here.
Dude, even Waze, on the way over here, Waze said, really? Is that where you want to go? Waze was like, we can't. Waze gave up.